Hey, everybody, we're back for another episode, our second installment of The Journey Up, an Entrepreneur's Guide. I'm your host, Bryce Ocepek, broker for Anabasis Realty, as well as managing partner for Anabasis Real Estate Investment Trust. I've got a couple of new guests here on the show today that I'm super excited to bring on. Obviously, you guys remember Brylen from our last episode, and we also have Haley Devol on the show as well today, and Ryder Hubbard. Ryder and Haley are both associates for Anabasis on the real estate side as an agent, as well as on the investment trust. And they've helped us considerably on our journey up in our entrepreneurial spirit that we have here at Anabasis. So, obviously, I wanted to touch on one more time, the meaning of Anabasis. We discussed a little bit on the last show, but wanted to make sure that everybody understands what it means before I ask you guys to share yours with me. But obviously, we know the Anabasis literally translates to the journey up, the ancient Greek, and obviously, we are going to be asking you guys to share your Anabasis because that's kind of the gist of the show, and we're happy to have you guys here to share it. First and foremost, I wanted to give a little bit of an introduction to Anabasis Realty on this episode because we're going to be talking a little bit more about our traditional real estate services and things that we provide for clients. Obviously, Anabasis Realty is a fully licensed real estate brokerage in the state of Florida, and we focus on not only residential, multifamily, commercial, all sorts of land development, all sorts of different properties. So, um, Brylen was actually the first agent that we hired at Anabasis Realty. So, I'll let Brylen give a little bit of backstory on kind of how that process went and what it was like for you.
Yeah, the process of being the first agent for Anabasis was, it was a little nerve wracking at first because it was in a sense a startup.
Yeah, for sure.
But you know, almost 2 years in now, and I wouldn't change it for the world. But no, I mean it's been good. It's been a big learning experience for me. It's been great to have Ryder and Haley jump aboard too a little bit later on after, and kind of get in with some of the deals we're doing, kind of teach them how to do some wholesaling stuff and what to look for when it comes to some of the investment properties that, Bryce and Mark passed down to me. And now they're, seasoned and don't need our help as much and can kind of, take the reins on their own. So, very happy about that and look forward to seeing the future success they have. But how has it been for y'all kind of jumping on this team? And I know this is your first year in real estate, and you've been in real estate for about two, 3 years
Yeah.
now. I know, for some agents jumping in, it can be kind of, you're kind of thrown into the fire. But how has it been, um, you know, for you, Haley? How's
I think that's how it's been for me being thrown in the fire, especially since all of you guys had established yourself and have been doing this for a while.
Yeah.
Me and Ryder started about the same time, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Back in like January. It's been about a
Yeah.
year
Yeah.
now, which is kind of
Yeah, it
crazy.
really
Yeah.
has been about a year.
Yeah. But I still, find myself comparing what I'm doing to what you guys are doing. And
Mm-hmm.
because we started at the same time, not thinking about the fact that you've been doing this way longer. So
Yeah.
it's been a little difficult to try to feeling like I have to live up to you guys, but you guys have uh, created an environment where I can. So
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
100%.
so
Well, I don't want you to feel like you have to live up to us in your own right.
yeah,
You've been in license for what, 9 months, and
yeah,
you closed 7 transactions in
Killing
nine
it.
months. I mean,
yes,
the average real estate agent in the United States closes 8 to 10 properties a year.
Mhm.
That's average in the industry. So
yeah. I do
you're
attribute,
already at that threshold.
yeah.
And I mean, my first 9 months in real estate, I
Yeah.
think I closed one.
Yeah.
But I attribute a lot of that to you guys, and
Yeah.
because of the knowledge that I've gained from you guys and the environment that you created and
Yeah.
all the resources that you provided. So
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah.
just thankful to be here.
Well, I wanted to hear a little bit more from you, Haley, on kind of your story and your journey, because obviously Brylen and I have kind of shared our story and kind of how we came up through life and decided the path of real estate and are where we are today. But I know that you chose a different path at first. You
Yeah.
kind of went the legal route, and
Yeah.
we're working under an attorney. And obviously, we've known each other since we were kids.
school, yeah.
So
Yeah.
wanted to
Long
have you
history.
share that.
Yeah. We grew up together in Fernandina, and I went off to college. And my dad is older and has had a lot of health issues. So when I graduated, I decided to move back and kind of take care of him, at least be there for him. And I really didn't know what to do. I was just kind of floundering around. I started bartending for a little bit, which I loved.
Not to cut you off, but bartending is actually one of like the best, not career choices, but one of the best like
Gateway
jobs.
jobs.
Yeah, to kind of
Yeah.
get you into that
Yeah.
atmosphere, to talking
Yeah.
to people. You're reading rooms, you're reading,
Yeah.
you're upselling, you're selling,
Yeah.
you're doing the whole thing. So I think, not to cut you off, but
No, you're fine.
bartending is, because I also did it as well, was one of those jobs that kind of did help me
Yeah.
whenever I got into the real estate world. Was I know how to, kind of deal with people
I
and
did
stuff.
too.
Yeah,
You-
all
you
those
bartended?
transferable
Yeah, I did.
skills.
I guess I'm the only guy that didn't bartend.
I think
but-
we all did at one point.
Yeah, I
Yeah, so-
bartended at FSU at Potts, and then on the island everywhere. So yeah, it's definitely skills that transfer to a lot of careers. Your social skills, your personality, and sales, all
Mhm.
of that. I really loved it a lot, and that kind of set me up for realizing a little bit more what I wanted to do and what aspect of the career path that I wanted to chase. I ended up getting a job as a paralegal, which I really loved, but I had no experience for.
Mhm.
I got it based on my writing ability. And so I did that for a while, but I just knew that it wasn't for me and wasn't what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
And then I think I ran into you guys at Halloween last year.
Mhm.
Okay.
And we were all out, and I came up to you, gave you a hug, hadn't seen you in forever, and you told me about Anabasis. And I went home, didn't think much about it. A couple
Uh-huh.
weeks later, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Quit my job, messaged you the next day, and we set up a call. And
I didn't know that. So you had actually already quit your job before you even
yeah,
called me.
I had quit at least a month before we actually started, really progressing in our
Yeah.
conversation. But I was still writing for the company. So
Yeah.
I wrote for their blog and for the different websites that we had. So I was
Right.
still kind of getting paid, but
Yeah.
and especially growing up in a family with contractors, I've always loved real estate. I always used to love to go to the job sites. So it's always something I had my eye on. But Fernandina is a competitive market for
For
agents.
sure.
Everybody wants to be an agent.
It's a little oversaturated over
Yeah.
there. A lot of luxury locations, although everybody, wants to go after the luxury listings for the larger commissions. I mean, everybody's got the same thought process.
Yeah.
So, those markets, Ponte Vedra, St. Augustine, Amelia Island, they're very saturated, and you're going to have a lot of competition, especially Amelia Island.
Yeah,
It's
that's why I
crazy.
never pursued it in the first place. But
Mhm.
I mean, when you explained to me Anabasis and your plans for the future,
Mhm.
I was in.
What
Yeah.
was like your biggest like shell shock before getting into real estate? Like you thought maybe this was done a certain way, but then whenever you actually got into real estate and got into like the nitty gritty of it, what was like the biggest surprise of it all?
I guess this has less to do with real estate, but I was really surprised at how easily I caught on. I
Yeah.
guess, not to say that it's easy in any way, but to be able to adapt and kind of jump in with you guys and really pick up, what you were teaching me, that surprised me more than anything.
Kind of like the repetition of it every day.
Yeah.
So it's like bartending. It's like learn on the fly. Like,
Yeah,
doing stuff rapid
exactly.
pace. So,
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's definitely kind of how you learn the best, is to be thrown into the fire, no
Yeah.
matter what it is, whether it's real estate or whether it's anything else. You kind of just have
First
to
night alone, it's Friday night.
you have
Yeah,
to get it.
you don't have the bar back.
Yeah.
and try it. And that's another thing that I think, a lot of people don't realize, is that, sometimes you're scared to fail, but if you want to succeed, you have to fail. And trial and error is really the best way to figure out what you're doing, no matter what it might be. I know that real estate has been good to you so far, and I know, Brylen asked that, kind of what's your biggest
Wow factor?
what's
Yeah.
going on. What would you say is the most interesting thing that you've learned so far? Because obviously we'd cover a lot of different areas of real estate,
Yeah.
not just traditional residential. We do a lot of different things. What would you say?
I feel like kind of the more investment wholesale side is super interesting to me. I love going to properties that are distressed, calculating the rehab, like knowing how to do all of that backhand
Mm-hmm.
calculations and valuations. That has been the most fun and
Yeah.
interesting to me. And I didn't really associate that with real estate or being a
Mhm.
real estate agent because a lot of traditional real estate agents don't do that.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that has been super exciting to be able to get a phone call from another agent asking me to
Mhm.
do it, get an ARV for them or calculate rehab. And they've been an agent for years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting that we do that in the first place, but that I can be that person.
Well, then it kind of opens you up to like a whole new buyer pool then, because you're not only
Absolutely.
just working with families that, I need, the cookie cutter house
Yeah.
in the subdivision, and you represent them. It's like, okay, I can now talk to those people. Then I can also talk to people that are sitting on money that may
Yeah.
need to invest into
And
properties.
they're always looking.
And they're always looking, yeah.
looking.
And that's
So-
another thing too is, you have to always be consistently looking for new clients on the traditional side.
Yeah.
On the investment side, once you find somebody that trusts you, knows that you know how to run your numbers,
Locked in.
you've got consistent,
Yeah.
closings with that individual for however long they're investing. And typically
Absolutely.
that's their whole
For
life.
the foreseeable future.
For the foreseeable
Absolutely.
future.
Yeah, I'll say for me, coming over from Coldwell Banker, worked there for 2 years, just doing traditional real estate.
Yeah.
I mean, just learning the wholesale side of stuff really
Yeah.
kind of sets, I guess, a realtor apart and knowing what those rehab costs can be. Because I do have a buyer right now where they're looking for primary residence moving up from South Florida, but they are looking for something that they can kind of make their own and do what they want with it. And so just being able to present those calculations for them, just like, okay, this is roughly how much you have to put in
Absolutely.
to a property. I mean, that helps a lot and goes a long way. I feel like as a,
It's a unique skill.
yeah.
Could you,
Yeah.
Ryder, could you actually, talking about the wholesale stuff, could you walk us through your first wholesale deal? I think I remember you had a pretty decent
What,
one.
St. Augustine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Am I
Yeah.
right?
So St. Augustine, so I was born and raised in Rogoff Village, St. Augustine area. So I kind of have a pool to working down there. I know our offices are based out of Jacksonville, but yeah, my first wholesale deal, I walked in, it was like first month, property had been sitting for like 160 days on a 70 days. And I mean, obviously it was priced at ARV,
Right.
at retail value. And I'm like, okay, it's going to at least need 100K off this price to get it done. But I didn't really know if this was going to be reasonable or not. And this is my first time doing it. And I was like, don't really know what to expect. So I'm like, okay, I want to throw an offer out here, see what happens, see if we can make it work for the investor. And it turns out it still wasn't enough, the price that we had it at. So we went and got another price reduction, made it work, got it like what, 150.
So I believe that we ended up getting a 90 grand reduction after already getting an initial
100
80,
off.
100
Yeah.
off to begin with.
Crazy. But yeah, so I mean, when you're working when your first 2 years, I mean, for you too, I mean, you just started, you don't really have those expectations. You're going to be able to get this much off when you're working with distressed properties.
Exactly.
Because I mean, I hadn't done that before. I was just like showing houses in St. Johns County, 2018 builds, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's pretty just kind of negotiating, just kind of like a little bit off kind of thing.
You're
just
negotiating
making
5
sure,
or 10
Yeah.
grand
making
off.
sure your fridge is
not much
working,
more.
whatever. But when you're dealing with that big of numbers and spreads, like when you actually get the job done, it's a lot more satisfying, at least to me so far. That's what I've enjoyed about it.
Well, I mean, I think it speaks volumes that you've not only got one, but 2 deals on the same street.
On the same street.
Yeah.
I'm working on my third right now, so we'll see if we can get it done.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good little area for investors. But what are you saying?
I said you and St. Aug.
Yep.
You're locked in.
It's a good
Yeah,
spot.
so if you guys want to invest in St. Augustine, hit up
Ryder.
Ryder.
Yep.
he's the St. Augustine investment property go-to. I know Haley, honestly, I had somebody reach out, or maybe you told me that they'd said it, but that you were one of the best like investment friendly agents that they had ever worked with. And I know that, you've just gotten started within the last year. So I think that speaks volumes to, the testament of how much you really have learned since you've started to be able to have a client say that, that you're that good at what you do, even just from the beginning. And you've closed several investment transactions
Yeah, just
recently.
the last one in Bernardina. I think that was actually the investor who said that. They were new. I think they were referred to me the week before we got under contract, and I found this deal. I really believed in it, and I had been connected with them. They have never been to Fernandina. They live in South Florida, had never invested in Jax, just entering the market.
Yeah.
Fernandina was not even on their radar. And I came to them with a deal, and I was like, listen, this is my hometown. I really believe in this deal. I know it could turn good profits. And they loved it. And they checked my numbers, believed in me, and we had a tough closing, a very delayed closing, but yeah, it went really well. It appraised more than my projected ARV for after all their work they're going to do. I think it's going to be a really good deal. So, and they were really impressed.
I think it's always good to under promise and over deliver. Under promise and over deliver.
And those are the people, like we said earlier, that are going to be like your continuous clients. You know, you get them one good deal, they want the second, they want the third, and then you've already, won them over.
Absolutely.
Exactly. I got kind of a good gist of your story, and Ryder, you kind of started to touch on it a little bit, but I don't think you dove super deep. You talked a little bit about Coldwell Banker and other things, but I'd like for you to share your Anabasis with me.
Well,
your life story, your journey up through, real estate and business and life.
I grew up in St. Augustine, like I said, went to Florida State. Obviously, me and Bryce, we went to school together over at Florida State. Kind of knew Brylen, but we kind of met more towards the end of college. So my dad, he works in med sales. I always knew kind of just growing up, just kind of modeling myself after him. I'd want to do some sort of sales. I didn't know what, but Florida State Business School has a great real estate program. I highly recommend it to anyone looking to get a business degree because it really teaches you about finance, law, and all of that. So yeah, you can learn a lot at FSU in terms of real estate. And during college, I worked at Keller Williams, went up to Washington, D.C. for a little bit, worked
What were you doing
side.
at Keller Williams when you were in Tallahassee?
Just straight cold calling. Just learn how to call on the phone. Just dial.
So what was kind of
4 hours a day?
What did that look like when you were cold calling? Were you just setting appointments for?
Yeah, for the just the team lead.
The team lead.
Yeah, so just kind of call for 4 to 5 hours a day, just nonstop. Just get a list and go after it. Just kind of circle prospect neighborhoods. Just try to find anyone that would want to schedule an appointment with them.
What would you say is the most valuable thing working there that you learned?
I would say really honestly the most valuable, I mean, aside from just kind of shadowing and kind of learning how the business goes, I would say really just getting on the phone like that. I mean, a lot of people can learn to be lazy and just kind of rely on lead sources that stuff comes to you. But I feel like if doing that cold calling just for hours and hours every day really teaches you you got to get after it.
You've got to prospect.
Yeah, you got to work. But also it really makes you comfortable on the phones. I know a lot of people when they get into real estate, like they might not know exactly. I mean, no one ever knows anything in real estate. I mean that even to this day, I'm asking you questions.
There's no two deals that are the same.
But the thing is, I mean, not everyone knows everything in real estate. But when you first start, there's that fear of, what if I say something wrong? Like then they're going to not want to talk, come back to me, something like that. So it really kind of gets you over that fear because you keep having the same conversation over and over again. You're kind of talking about the same thing, and you kind of just builds in your head like, okay, like this isn't so bad. And obviously, it's like drink from the fire hose. You're going to learn as you go.
That was actually something that was not like an issue for me, but I was always, I kind of had that first, remember when I first hopped on the phones, I was a little nervous and scared too. But something I learned from an old mentor was if you don't know something, it's just as simple as, hey, I don't know the answer to that, but I will find it out for you and get back to you ASAP.
That's
what
really.
I do.
So that was like my go-to, like my first few months of real estate was, hey, I don't know the answer to this, but I will find the answer for you and I will get it to you as soon as possible.
So
and most people are okay with that. Most people are okay with that.
I mean, it's definitely, it's nice to know the answer right away, but you're never always going to know the answer right away. So and I feel like people understand that. I mean, nobody's perfect, but I think the biggest thing in real estate, as long as you're attentive and you work hard for that individual, I mean, they're going to be okay if you don't know something right off the bat. So that's just a big thing for me, is making sure you're attentive and staying on top of everything with your buyer.
So you were at Keller Williams, you were knocking out calls.
Yeah, knocking out calls. And then I went up to Washington, D.C. for a little bit, did about 4 to 5 months during COVID, which was a really interesting time to be up in Washington, D.C. But
Doing
Was that
real
legal
estate or
stuff, or was that real estate?
no, I was doing commercial real estate, so like
Okay.
office tenant representation. Just, I mean, it was pretty slow given the COVID was in full force.
Mhm.
So you were
Um,
doing commercial leasing. It was
Yes.
office leasing,
Yeah,
then,
yeah,
so not really
yeah.
sales of that.
No, I mean, yeah, we'd still like do the cold calls, looking for buyers, stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
But it was more that was more of an experience just learning the commercial side of things. And then when I got back to FSU, I finished up right at the end of COVID. And I moved back to Jacksonville. I was looking for a job. I'm like, oh, I'll go work at Coldwell Banker. Obviously, it's a good brand name, but worked there for 2 years. Learned under a friend of mine. Then I ran into Brylen at a Jags football game. I mean, this thing you always
Go
got.
Jags.
Yeah, go Jags. Duval. No,
Go Jags.
no, but ran into Brylen, and that's the thing. You're always kind of networking. You got to keep the resume in your back
Yeah.
pocket. I mean,
Business cards at the bar.
yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
I do it all
But
the time.
yeah, ran to Brylen. They're like, yeah, we're kind of starting something. I think y'all were about like 4 or 5 months in.
Uh-huh.
Because y'all start what in like August,
We started
July?
in May of 21.
21. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was around like December time that year. Ran into Brylen, and he's like, yeah, we're starting something where we're doing a little bit of everything. And I'm like, okay, well, that's a really good opportunity to learn more. That's why when I was in college, did Keller Williams, did the residential side.
Mhm.
Went up DC, did some commercial stuff, and just want to really just kind of keep furthering my knowledge in real estate. And when you guys were talking about doing investment stuff, still doing traditional, commercial, all the just everything basically, I'm like, why wouldn't I jump on board? And
Yeah.
we went to college together. I'm like, this sounds like a good opportunity. So it's worked out so far. So
I would like to hear a little bit more from you on kind of, obviously you've been with us for a year now, and I would say that, going from traditional style of real estate to kind of the private equity, nimble real estate that we do, you've probably learned a lot of things along the way.
yeah.
What would you say is one of your kind of favorite or most challenging transactions that you've worked on with us?
Challenging. I mean, it could be the wholesale deals when you're looking for stuff for investors, just with the way the market is. Like, yeah, the numbers can work. But St. Augustine, for example, is a very niche market.
Yeah.
So you really have to find the right buyer in that area in
Uh-huh.
a select amount of time. So, I mean, just right now, it's just the climate is challenging, but it's really just trying to find those buyers when the market's down
Yeah.
or on its way down. I think that's the biggest challenge. But also, I think wholesaling for me has been the most satisfying part of the job
Mhm.
is learning how to work with those numbers and getting a deal done that you create from scratch. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that's awesome. And that's definitely been the most satisfying part to me because I don't know if it's like my competitive background, whatever it may be, but when you get those done,
I
it's
feel
like,
ya.
it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So like you're pulling a lot of strings too, and
Yeah.
you have so many different factors involved
Yeah,
with it. And once they
exactly.
all line up and you get into the closing table, it's one of the better feelings.
yeah, exactly.
What would you say, Brylen, is the most difficult transaction that we've done? Probably the 17 unit.
I think as far as like the numbers go and actually analyzing everything that went into it, that used the most brain power.
Yeah.
I will say I think the most challenging acquisition we had was the one over off Lexington, just because
Yeah, that was rough.
that was rougher.
Yeah.
So I guess it all just kind of depends
That was
on
more like project management rough, not really closing the deal, but I agree with
right,
you for
right.
sure.
But I guess as far as the roughest deal, it was definitely that 17 unit because we actually fell out of contract twice on it.
Yeah.
And it was resurrected both times, and I think we also had like a 60 to 90 day due diligence period.
We had
So we had all that time
we
for
had a
everything.
60-day due diligence period, and I want to say it was listed at like 1.8, and we ended up getting it for 1.35. So it was a huge negotiation process.
Huge negotiation process, and it was a lot of it felt like a big game of chess because
Mhm.
we would come at them with something, they'd hit us back with something, and it wasn't like okay, let's respond right now. It was more of a all right, let's regroup, let's talk internally as a team, let's figure out what we need to do to get this across the finish line. And essentially we did.
Yeah.
I think as far as commercial goes, I learned a lot during that deal too.
Mhm.
But then again, sometimes real estate's so funny. You'll have deals where the smallest commission or smallest payday is going to be the biggest
Headache.
headache
Yeah.
or thorn in your shoe.
That's what I was
You've
gonna
seen
say.
that a few
Yeah,
times.
And I know
yeah,
you've
I
seen
mean,
it a few
So
times.
the time you think it's going to be a cakewalk ends up being the biggest pain in your
Yeah.
butt of all time.
Yeah.
And then the stuff you think is going to be difficult ends up being like a 14-day close, like
Yeah.
no issues at all. Like
Mhm.
it's
Huge commissions.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So it's a love-hate relationship with that
Yeah.
aspect of real estate, but at the same time, you just got to get up every morning. You got to keep grinding
Yeah.
and find the deals. So
Definitely.
For
What,
sure.
what do you think would have? I know you've done about 7 or 8 deals so far. Is there like a one deal out of those 8 within this last year that was the biggest mess or it was rough for you?
I think Cedar in Fernandina was not that difficult, by any means compared to bigger deals, but it was just stressful to get it done. We actually were gonna get it for the fund at
Mhm.
first, and then the numbers didn't shake out for us. And
Yeah.
it's hard really believing in a deal and the numbers look like they work, but also you don't know. You never know. You can't
Yeah.
predict the market. But I ran those numbers over and over and over again, and I believed in the deal. So then I had to, kind of fight for it elsewhere. I was like, this is a good deal. I don't want to lose it. So then finding an investor to take it on, proving to them the highlights of Fernandina, because
Yeah.
you're not from there. You don't know all the little nuances.
For sure.
And then we had some difficulties with the sellers and ended up delaying closing, I think 2 or 3 times
Yeah.
after they had originally requested a quick close.
Yeah.
So it was like pulling teeth trying to get a signature.
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
signature. So
I thought that was funny.
yeah. What did they say? They wanted a 3-day inspection and a 2-week close. And then our closing ended up being like a month and a couple weeks.
Because one person wouldn't sign
One
something.
signature.
Yeah.
One signature. That's all I need.
But that's usually how it goes. It's always
Yeah.
just one thing you need, but you can't get it.
yeah, I got
So
like
that
a
was-
probate on one contract. You got one person out of the 8 that you need signatures, but just find that one person. It's like for some
Yeah.
reason it's the
Yeah.
most difficult thing in the world, but I don't know, we'll get it across the board.
It was more
100%.
like
Got 2 with
irritating than
probate right now.
difficult.
Yep.
So.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I think you've shared a lot about that. What are you most looking forward to about kind of the future in your journey up in real estate? Because obviously we've got a lot of plans for what we're working on with the REIT and how we want to continue to scale the brokerage and work together as a team. But wanted to hear from you. It could not be real estate related, but it can be. But kind of your goal for the future and what you're most looking forward to.
I would say right now, I mean, I'm really excited to see us grow because I mean, just thinking back to January, I mean, when I started, it's
Yeah.
like, I mean, we're in a small, like tiny room, like
Yeah.
5 or 6 of us all like
Crammed
on
in
top
there.
of each other. And I
Yeah.
mean, now we have a nice office space for us. I feel like the amount of deals we've gotten done this year is tremendous.
Yeah.
I mean, just opposed to my first year and a half. I mean, like I said, or we talked about, when you first start out, I mean, it's challenging for everybody, but
Of course.
but the amount of progress we've made just in 1 year, I mean, I can't wait to see what we can do in the next 2 to 3 years.
Exactly.
I mean, it seems like, we're on the journey up. So it's,
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
it's good to see.
For me, I think what I'm most looking forward to is the knowledge and growth that I know is going to come in the next year. Even the past couple weeks, I've been outsourcing as many resources and downloads and PDFs that I can find just to learn and grow in myself, but also as a team member, and just kind of see where we are in 2 years. Because I know it's going to be wild. So
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
yeah, I look forward to growth, and I've also never really felt secure and like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing until now.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, it definitely it'll come. I mean,
Yeah.
it hasn't already, but
Yeah.
and
It's-
within the next year, you'll definitely start to see, oh, I don't have to second guess myself
Yeah.
or
Mhm.
go to me, Bryce Brown, whatever it might be. You'll get to the point where it's like, okay, like I've done this before.
yeah,
Mhm.
You feel confident in what you're doing, and then that's also satisfying in itself too.
the confidence. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the repetition of that kind of helps because I mean, I think it really took me a solid year before I fully felt confident to even talk on the phone about anything real estate related.
Yeah.
I
Now-
can't talk on the phone in front of you guys.
Yeah, like
Sorry.
like first year, just writing up a contract, even though you'd done it like 5 or 6 times,
Yeah.
however many times it may have been, every single time you go to do it, it's like, am I like
Yeah.
checking the right stuff? Am I doing everything right for my buyer? Because you don't
Yeah.
want to screw it up. That's the biggest fear.
Exactly.
I mean, for anything in professional world is you don't want to screw over someone else's money, or I mean, it's a lot of buyers' biggest transactions will ever make. So just making
Yeah.
sure you're doing everything right by them when you first start out is nerve-wracking. But then once you start gaining that confidence over time, it definitely feels good when you don't have to go ask broker Bryce, what do I need to be doing here? But
Yeah, that's the nickname they have for me, by the way, in the office. So,
Bryce.
yeah, broker Bryce, buy with Brylen. Yeah.
Ryder Real Estate
Yep,
and Houses
Haley-
with Hales.
Yeah, there you
Houses
go.
with
Hell, follow us.
What's going on with you, Brylen? What about you? What do you think? What are you most looking forward to? And your journey up, whether it's in real estate or life in general, and what are your goals?
My goals, I think, are just to be, I would say, just a good team player throughout the company, and just, be there for people and not to expect anything in return. I think obviously we all have goals to make a certain amount of money, but I don't really have like a cap on how many deals I want to do or how much money I want to make. I think
Yeah.
what I'm really looking forward to is seeing, this podcast grow, seeing our deal chart grow, seeing the REIT acquire more property, seeing that grow, um, eventually seeing more agents in the office too,
Yeah.
and the right agents too. People that display good attitudes and all want the same thing, because I think it's pretty clear that we all want the same things.
Uh-huh.
We all want to work together and be successful, and we all have each other's backs. And I think that's huge when it comes to a team or a company or any type of work environment. Because I think I might have said it on the last episode, but I think it's just so beneficial for everybody whenever you have, a tight group of people all working toward one common goal.
Yeah.
Because that holds so much more weight than just one person trying to do it all or think that you can do it by yourself, because you can't. But I think just I'm really just looking forward to what we have going. I think Ryder kind of touched on it earlier, how we kind of just started in that little office space, and
Yeah.
it was
Cubicle.
and it was at that time it was almost just like this far-fetched dream where we didn't even have a list. I remember we got our first listing,
Yeah.
that pool house, and we
it
were
was
freaking
it was
out.
like we had this whiteboard, and
whole
we
board.
had the same one that
The
we
same
have
one we
now
have
with the
now.
columns and
Yeah.
everything, except it was just
One
deal.
One
up
deal.
in the
Yeah.
top left corner.
And-
We're like, okay, it's the first one.
And we were so pumped for like I think that whole month we got our first listing as Bryce was the broker. We got our first listing, and now I think we've almost closed 60 deals since January 1, and we have 9 on the board that are either active, pending, or under 15.
Yeah.
And then we also have almost 35 doors that is owned by
35.
Anabasis.
Yeah.
And whenever we started, I think we had 1.
Yeah. We had one.
So I think
yeah.
that just kind of shows in the last year and a half that we've put in some work. We've
Done
we've
some
grinded,
serious work.
and I'm just looking forward to continue to grow this thing.
Yeah, no, I agree with that wholeheartedly. And I mean, to talk about goals and some of those figures that you just said.
What
I
are your
remember-
goals for?
Actually, I
Broker
said at the
Bryce?
beginning of the year, this year, before we even did anything, and it was still very, getting started, and we had only closed, I think, 15 or 17 deals the year prior. I said at the beginning of the year, I was like, I want this company to close 50 deals this year. And I thought that was like a big goal. It was going to be hard for us to hit, but I felt that we could do it if we really pushed and brought some new talent on. And yeah, sure enough, we're almost 60 transactions for the year, and we are in November right now. We still got a month and a half to go, so we have far exceeded that. Also, my goal was to have, I believe, 8 to 10 properties by the end of this year. At the beginning of the year, but I was expecting that they would only be single family, maybe a couple duplexes here and there. We have 11 properties consisting of 120 unit self-storage facility, 25 doors of multifamily, and 9 houses. So that is like crazy.
Amazing.
It's I'm so ecstatic and happy with how hard that we've worked, like you said, together as a team. I think it's important to continue to press forward and have each other's backs, because it's like you said, if you're moving consistently towards a common goal, nothing can stop you. And I was watching something the other day from Tony Robbins. This is actually to what you were talking about before, and not feeling like, you've reached what your capabilities are yet. He's got a pretty interesting quote. A lot of people overestimate what they can accomplish in a year, but they underestimate what they can accomplish in 2 decades.
Yeah.
And I think that that's very interesting to think about, because there's there's really so much time that we have. We're all very young, and you have all these ideas and things in your mind that you want to implement and do, but you can only do it so quickly. It takes time for things to catch on, and it's hard to get a lot of things done in a year and feel like you've accomplished everything that you've set out to do. But if you know love and trust in yourself and your team around you, and give yourself the time and encouragement to put in 2 decades, the amount of growth and success that I think we'll see in the
Imagine.
future is unimaginable. So I'm really excited for the next two decades.
On thinking about goals, do we have 2024 goals in mind? What are we thinking here?
Yes,
What's the number?
2024 goals. We're shooting for 100. We're shooting
Alright.
for 100. I think we can do it. I thought we could do 50 this year, and we broke that. We're gonna break 60. I don't see any reason why we can't do 100 next year.
Yeah, I think we
Mm.
can
I
get
think
it
when
done.
I first started, Ernest or one of you had asked me, well, like, do you have a goal for your first year? And I was like, I think 10 maybe, because I had no idea what I was talking about.
Yeah,
And whoever I was talking to was like, that's a lot. That's a big number.
that's a
And
good number
That's a
though.
good number though,
Yeah.
because you're almost there.
but I had
Yeah.
no like I didn't actually believe that was going to happen, or I was
Mhm.
going to get close.
Right.
And yeah, I'm at 7.
Yeah,
So I thought that was really cool.
that's awesome. Well, I'm very
But
happy for you, and I'm
yeah,
very proud of you.
as a team, I can't imagine how far we'll be at the end of next year.
Yeah, I'm super excited for it. So I wanted to bring up a hot topic right now. We have a new loan coming out. I know you guys have probably seen my post about it today, or maybe Chandler's within the last week or so. Next week, Fannie Mae is enacting the 5% down conventional multifamily loans if they're owner occupied. So before, if you were interested in buying a owner occupant multifamily property, 4 units or less, it's considered residential. You could get a residential conventional loan. However, for single unit, obviously you can do 5% down. 2 units, you'd have to do 15% down, and for 3 to 4 doors, you'd have to put 25% down. So that's a huge, huge thing, because that opens the doors for so many more investors, whether they're intro or not. Even if you're an introductory investor, or if you're an experienced investor, you're bringing so much less capital to the table.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, for example, if you've got a $1 million quadplex in Jack's Beach that somebody wants to buy as their primary residence, they only have to put 5% down. That's a huge deal. That's only
Yeah.
50 grand.
Yeah.
So you're putting 50 grand down on $1 million product, and you can use the other 3 doors income to qualify
Yeah.
for the mortgage. So that's a game changer, in my opinion. I think something that you guys should keep in mind for your deals and investors that you're working with in the future. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. And if you think that there are obviously positives to it, but do you think there are any negatives possibly from opening the space to allow more access to these multifamily properties for the average investor?
Well, I mean, I guess the biggest thing is I mean, obviously being smart with how you're doing things. Obviously, any investor is a great investor for us, but just making sure everyone's smart with what they're doing. Obviously, that's exciting for anyone in real estate that wants to get into investing, but just be smart with what you're doing. Make sure you come to the right people to make sure that you have the right numbers and everything good to go on that end.
I think with the 5% down on the multifamily would be a great tool for people that are working with agents or someone on our team that can utilize seller concessions too, because you could almost, especially if you're a licensed agent and there's a commission attached to it and the house is on the MLS, you're already getting that commission back at the closing table. You could put that toward your down payment. And I'm pretty sure you can ask, is it up to 6% in seller credits when it comes to, or maybe 3?
That was 3, but
Depends on
maybe
the
I'm
loan.
wrong.
I think it
Depends on the
depends
loan,
on,
yeah.
I think it depends on the down payment amount.
Right.
So if you
LVA is 6.
if you're doing 20% down, I believe you can get up to 6%, but I believe with conventional 5% down, I think it's 3.
Mm-hmm. Well, on top of that,
But
I mean,
still 3% seller concessions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Buy your rate down in this market. It's
Yeah.
the way to
Probably
go.
equivalent.
It's the move
Yeah.
right now.
I would honestly recommend doing a 2-1 buy down to anybody that's looking to use seller concessions towards buying an investment property right now in this market, specifically because I believe that the interest rates are going to eventually go down. I mean, they're the highest they've ever been in a long time, and they'll eventually go down. But what's nice is that with the 2-1 buy down, the money that you take from those concessions, it's really a quasi escrow account. So, as that money is loaded in from the 2-1 buy down, that's what's making your payments less for the next 2 years. But if the rates go down in the next year or two and then you refinance and there's an overage amount, they will actually credit that back to you whenever you refinance. So that is a way that you can keep your payment lower and use a 2-1 buy down to get it into the 6s if it's in the 8s right now.
Yeah.
But not waste because it's a little bit cheaper, not waste all that buy down. Because if you buy it down from 8s into the 6s on a fixed rate, it's way more expensive. On a 2-1, it's temporary. So you will have to qualify for that 8% mortgage, but you can kind of reduce your payments on the short term with the, precursor that you will be refinancing once these rates calm down a little bit. So I definitely recommend that.
So talking about all these high interest rates, how has it kind of been? Obviously, we are in a high interest rate market right now. What are some speed bumps or maybe some things that are getting in the way of some of your buyers or investors when it comes to higher interest rates right now?
Yeah, for me, I mean, being 26, I mean, all of us, I mean, a lot of our market or people that we work with are generally going to be kind of before 30 years old. So being able to afford a house, especially for people that are uneducated, that are renting right now or just learning the process, to them, when they see 8%, they're like, no
Scary.
shot I'm going to buy.
Yeah.
Like, there's like no way I'm going to do this. But the biggest thing I try to tell friends, family, whoever it may be, just talk to a lender. See what you might actually be able to afford, because you might not know you might actually be able to afford more than what you think. And I mean, going back to the refinancing side of things, you can always worry about that a year down the road, figure that out, and get those seller credits now, get your closing costs covered and stuff like that. And I think a big thing for me, a lot of people that are in their mid 20s right now have been going towards new construction. Me myself bought a townhouse down St. John's Silverleaf. Just getting those seller concessions, closing costs covered is huge for somebody that's 2 or 3 years into the working world.
Right.
Yeah.
And just starting to build and grow. So I think it's a speed bump is people thinking, oh, 8%, no shot I'm getting into this market right now.
Yeah.
And trying to get them back on board and jump on the ship with you and go out and buy stuff even in this market.
I think what a lot of people don't understand, though, that are in that boat is that although interest rates are super high right now and it's harder to, swing those payments, if you can use the tactics like, buying the rate down to and buy down, seller concessions, things of that nature to get into something now's the best time to buy.
Yeah.
Because now you're going to get sellers that are hurting, people that are willing to negotiate. You're going to get lower prices on stuff.
Yeah.
And really at the end of the day, you make money on the buy, not on the sell.
Yeah.
Because if you wait until interest rates go down, there's so many people on the sidelines waiting to buy.
Everybody's going to jump in.
Everybody's going to jump in. It's going to be a feeding frenzy whenever the rates drop back down. That's the point where you want to sell.
Yep.
So really now's the time to buy with, the precursor that you're going to refinance. You're going to use some buy downs. You're going to negotiate, get a good deal on the upfront. hold on to it for a few years. And then whenever those interest rates go down, your equity is going to go up. So, really stress that to people that are looking to get involved now, but are kind of on the sidelines, kind of on the fence.
I actually had a couple, at least 2 separate buyers that just we showed a couple houses and then just ghosted because the interest rates, and they didn't really digest any of the options that they had or explore it. And I think that's really important, rather than being scared of it and just saying no way, not going to happen.
Yeah.
Talk to an agent, talk to one of us, and talk to a lender, explore your options. You don't have to commit to anything, and
Yeah,
see
exactly.
if it's going to work for you or not.
Don't just like look at a news article and see that interest rates are high and
Exactly.
think the world's ending. You can't buy. That's not the,
I'm never going to afford a house.
Well, so I mean, literally yesterday, I went and showed a buyer house, first time meeting them, and I try. You don't want to obviously divulge too much. Your first meeting them. You want to let them see the house and everything. But when we first had an initial meeting, I want to kind of let them know about these things. Like, hey, I have a great lender or two. Give them options that you can talk to, and we can go over all these different ways you can purchase a home, because they said they got pre-approved back in like May or June, something like that. And they're like, okay, well, we can afford this, but now we're worried about interest rates. And I'm like, okay, well, we can always buy it down, and there's different ways you can navigate it. But when you're just, first time home buyer and stuff like that, you might not know that. So it's just being able to educate them to where they feel comfortable,
100%.
and then get them with the right people in terms of lenders and stuff. And then you kind of formulate a game plan.
And instilling that trust in your buyer too. They need to trust you. Can you get them across the finish line? It'll make that whole process so much easier.
Yeah.
Well, I want to get some kind of calls to action from you guys. What do you guys want to see from people in the market that are interested and wanting to reach out to you or have questions?
I just like to talk to people, like, let me share my knowledge with you. So if you have questions or just want to explore selling or buying, just call, go to my website, anything, because it doesn't hurt to just call and ask a question.
What's your website?
Houseswithhales.com, at houseswithhales, social media. Follow me.
That's cute. I like your website.
Thank you.
And
Actually,
you built that website yourself, then?
I did build the website. There's seller guides, home buying guides, pre-listing checklists, all kinds of resources on there. And I am launching a blog this week. So
Nice.
Okay.
look out for that. I will be posting that soon. That will be linked on my website, House with Hills. So
yeah, your website, it's legit. It looks great. You definitely did a good job with it. So
if you need a website, hit me up.
might need your help there.
Yeah.
That's funny. What about you?
Just kind of reiterating on everything. It's just trusting in your realtor, that they are going to get you in touch with the right people, lenders. And we do have game plans where we can make it work for you. I just feel like people right now can be a little timid. And like you said, right now it's the right time to buy, sell when those interest rates go back down. It's a game. To me it is. I'm competitive. It's fun. But getting people,
real estate's definitely a game.
It's a game. It's a fun game.
It's a
really
game
fun
chess,
game. But
for sure.
yeah, it's just making sure everyone feels comfortable. Get them with the right people, and let's make it happen.
Okay,
let's make it happen.
Let's do some deals.
Journey up.
Yeah. I guess to kind of finalize, I'm really excited about everything that we have going on at Anabasis Realty and the investment trust as well. Obviously, with the public offering coming very soon, that we're going to keep you guys, informed about. Stay tuned. That's going to be huge, especially that you guys will be able to interact and invest with us, and be a part of what we're doing, as well as if you're interested in a 5% down conventional multifamily property, or selling commercial or luxury, whatever it is, we're here for you guys. And we're excited to be bringing this podcast to you, and having new guests on here in the next couple weeks that are going to be outside of Anabasis. So, they're not going to be internal members. We'll have some other topics to discuss other than real estate. But as always, if you guys have any questions on the topic, please don't hesitate to reach out to us individually. We're going to have all of our contact information here on the episode for you to be able to contact each one of us individually, as well as our websites and further information. But we're going to have some new guests on and have some more, entrepreneurial journeys to discuss. And we're super excited to bring it to you. So stay tuned, and we'll see you on the next one.